Welcome back to Get Down to Business. Joining me today is a leader who understands exactly what it is to put your head when everything is on the line. My guest is Dominic, who's CEO of Thought Leaders America, a national media and PR agency that helps founders and innovators bridge the credibility gap to become unforgettable. Dominic had a remarkable moment about a decade ago, a moment that forced him to confront extreme fear and decision-making under intense pressure. And we're going to talk about it because that has formed the foundation of the Zambezi survival mindset. Dominic's an Ironman finisher and global traveler. Welcome to the show, Dominic.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. A life-altering experience on the Zambezi River a decade ago. Can you take us back to that moment and tell us how almost dying reshaped your entire definition of leadership?
Yeah, it's funny how something as fragile as water can be so lethal, and it really knocked me for six. But I was on my honeymoon on a rafting trip, got trapped under the raft. And at first I thought, no problem, I'll resurface. But it took me 3 attempts to resurface. And really with my last breath, finally made it to the water. But I realized that day, oh my goodness, what would have happened if I'd perished? There was so much more life and so many more stories inside of me. And it set me on this journey where we all have these remarkable stories inside of us, and yet so many people don't share them. And so it set me on this quest, really, to help other people share their stories in the same way I'm sharing mine.
Amazing. And in your work, you talk about survival psychology in business. What actually happens to a leader's brain when a business crisis hits? And how do we override our natural biological panic?
Yeah, I mean, very quickly, your body turns to fight or flight response. And one of the big things I coach leaders on is breathing techniques, because you'd be amazed how much of a better decision you can make with a calm sense of mind. And so it can literally be just a few seconds to pause, take a deep breath, get oxygen into your brain, and then suddenly the hairs on the back of your neck have suddenly calmed down. And now you can move forward with clarity and then courage to make a good decision.
Amazing. You lead Thought Leaders America to help founders go from invisible to unforgettable. How does the Zambezi survival mindset specifically guide your approach to PR and storytelling?
Yeah. So the first thing is helping leaders be calm in situations where they're on big stages, they're on major TV networks. The second piece, which is often missed, is clarity. How do you crystallize and condense a story so it delivers as maximum impact in as few words as necessary? And then the last piece is courage, because you might know what to do, but knowing what to do is just part of the battle. Having the courage to then go out and actually do it, that's the key thing. And so we really train a lot on mentality, how to have purpose with your message, and 3, ultimately then deliver that message in a confident way.
Absolutely. I'm chatting with Dominic Forth. His Zambezi survival mindset is fascinating. And of course, we're going to link and make it easy for our listeners to learn more. But Dominic, you've worked with hundreds of leaders in tech and health. What's the fastest way for a CEO to reset their team's focus when it feels like they're losing control in a chaotic market?
Yeah, so I think the key thing is obviously breathing exercise for the leader. But the second piece is start with heart. So what is the end goal of what you want to deliver? Because quite often we become reactionary, and it can become a tit for tat if there's conflict in the room and things like that. But when you open up with clarity and with starting from the heart, and you say, hey, here is my goal. This is what I want us to achieve. This is what I want us to accomplish. This is the North Star. That helps get everybody aligned very quickly. And then the other piece is often contrasting, is a very impressive technique, because telling people what you didn't mean is often just as important as telling people what you do mean. And it can disarm people very quickly in a conflict situation, or turn naysayers into yaysayers, really, and get you on board to support you.
Dominic, how can we stop seeing fear as a cage and start using it as fuel for momentum and focus?
Yeah, I think fear is often, I like to think of Bruce Wayne and Batman almost. I think that's a great analogy where he usually uses fear to really be his driving force. And I think we all have that inside of us. And often fear is just a measurement of growth. We're doing something out of our comfort zone, but that comfort zone will lead to a better life for not just us, but for the teams we lead as well. So I don't want to say embrace fear, because it could be quite dangerous in many senses, but I do feel we need to lean into fear and understand why we have fear and why it can be a good thing and can really fuel us in a unique and positive way.
Mm. And finally, Dominic, for the entrepreneur who feels invisible right now, what's the first step that they should take to close their credibility gap and start moving with courage on command?
Honestly, it's taking that first step. It's sharing your story, and you don't have to be posting it publicly first. But often what you'll find is you start telling your story, and it's the questions people ask you in response that end up shaping that story. For one, I never realized just how important the Zambezi River story was to other people. I almost shook it off in a way. It's something I've been through. It was traumatic. And then I started leaning in and telling people, and they were like, well, tell me more. Like, what was it like the first time you surfaced? What was it like the second time? And I was like, oh, I've got something here that people need to hear. And so many people that are listening to this have those same stories inside of them, but you have to start somewhere by sharing it.
Amazing. Dominic Forth, I want to make sure our listeners can learn more about the mindset and learn more about your important work. How can they do so?
Yeah, so Thought Leaders America, we are looking for storytellers, people that have stories they want to share to transform lives. ThoughtLeadersAmerica.com, and you can connect with me, Dominic Forth, on LinkedIn as well.
Fantastic. We'll link in the show notes, make it really easy for people to get in touch. Dominic, I can't thank you enough for inspiring us, and I can't not wait to bring you back onto the show real soon. We're going to squeeze in a quick break here on the show, all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship, and we will be right back.